わずかばかりの朝食では体が持たないが、しかし。
So last time we saw something very bad happening with Rosa and Maria. Eva tortured them to death, basically. She revived and killed them again and again and again without stopping. And I feel like there's something more about the whole witch's coronation scene that has me thinking that it's like a passing of the torch kind of deal. If, for example, Shannon was the culprit before, now I think she's passing the torch to someone else.
もちろん分かってるさ。だがな、時間を置けばどんどん暗くなってくる。多分今が一番明るい。
Oh yeah,
今が一番都合がいいんだ。
ローザさんたちが襲われてからまだ1時間も経ったかどうかですよ。
Eva wanted them to split up, I think.
いくらなんでも不要。
It was only natural that Natsuhi was yelling about recklessness. After all, Rudolf had said he was going to dimension to get food. Man, can't you just wait until tomorrow a human doesn't die without food for a day at least? Come on. Certainly, on top of their fatigue, their hunger was tormenting them. In the beginning, a mild level of hunger had been just what they needed to fight off drowsiness. However, it just now made their minds hazy, since it was still only midday, and their bodies felt like they were reaching their limits. The thought of going to the kitchen in the mansion and bringing back some food was certainly attractive.
私は反対です。多少は辛いでしょうが、断じてここを出るべきではありません。
私たちはいい。だが子供たちにひもじい思いをさせるのは心が痛む。親として責任を負わねばなるまい。
あなた、お父様が亡くなられた今、後宮家の当主はあなたです。そのような危険を冒すことは許されません。
そうね、夏日さんの言う通りよ。クラウスさんはリーダーとしてここに残るべきね。
なら誰が屋敷へ行くんだね。
俺とキリエ、あと秀吉兄さんの3人で行こうと思う。
Why Hideyoshi though?
俺と秀吉兄さんは銃を持ってる。そう簡単に向こうも手出しはできないはずだ。
ローザさんも銃を持っていましたが襲われました。危険ではありませんか。
So there will be no next victims then.
ローザたちの様子を確かめに出た時、銃を持っていたが、俺は一人だった。だが襲われなかった。男が相手なら、向こうも慎重なのかもしれないぜ。
男性が2人、そしてさらに銃も2丁。2人には護衛役に徹してもらって、荷物は台車で私が運ぶわ。ローザさんの時とは状況が明らかに異なるはずよ。
わしを男と見込んでの話なら、喜んで協力させてもらうで。こう見えても屋台を引いて鍛えた体や。力仕事は任せてえな。
男性は護衛役に徹してくれていいの。使用人室に折りたたみ式の台車があったから、それを使えば私一人でも十分に食料が運べるわ。
Didn't Eva, the witch, said that she would leave Hideyoshi alone?
もちろん用心はする。そしてこの冒険を一度だけ成功させれば、私たちはここを出る危険を冒す必要はないの。
なんとか考え直せませんか。皆さんに空腹を強いるのは心苦しいですが。ですがしかし、今の外は何が起こるか分かりません。
Rudolf, Kyrie, and Nanjo were the victims chosen. Well, why is Hideyoshi going?
それにエヴァはだいぶ体調が悪いんや。空腹にはできん。胃袋が空っぽじゃ飲める薬も飲めんわ。エヴァのためにもわしは出かけにはならんのや。
エヴァの具合はどうなんだね。
ようやく寝入ってくれたとこや。熱も高い。しばらくそっとしたってや。
妻の体調があっては座してもいられんか。わかった。外出を許可しよう。
じゃあ、俺たちはさっくりと行ってくるぜ。
Don't.
スピード勝負だ。
Guess they'll die.
缶詰は OK だよな。
No, not Kyrie. Please, not Kyrie.
缶切りくれこっちにあるよな。
はい、缶切りと 栓抜きはあります。
Rudolf is too handsome to die.
ゲストハウスに水道があるから飲み物は不要よね。10人分もあるんだから好き嫌いは言わせないわ。
Kyrie is too cute to die. Please don't. She already died 2 times already. Why can't she reach the final twilights? Come
気を
on.
つけてな。本当ならば自分も生きたい。
Maybe they'll kill Cross and Nazi in the guest house just to make things more confusing.
男に生まれながらこのような急場で力を貸せぬ長男の肩書きが恨めしい。
Man, imagine if they return to the guest house and Cross and Nazi are dead.
たまには譲って兄貴はのんびりしてろい。じゃあな、夏日さん、タオルの準備でもして待っててくれ。傘はささねえから濡れネズミで帰ってくるぜ。
わかりました。お気をつけて。
Rudolf, Kyrie, and Hideyoshi, each leaving their own brave words behind, left the lobby. Let's see what happens. Compared to the time that Rosa and Maria had gone outside, the winds were much stronger. Rudolf's group of 3 people jogged through the rose garden without umbrellas, holding their guns and a folded cart. If everything had been still and quiet without the wind and the rain, they would probably have kept their ears open and moved with caution. But in this rain, even if some suspicious person was hiding nearby, it would have been difficult to notice them. Because of that, it had been Rudolf's plan to instead dash through the dangerous area. There was a chance that their opponent was equipped with a gun, then walking slowly with their guard up would only make their targets. Taking swift action was probably the correct choice.
バラテーやカモがネギしょってきたと思うとるかもしれんで。
頼むぜ。誰も出てきてくれるなよ。
Even as Rudolf and Hideyoshi continued to run, they looked around restlessly, vigilant of their surroundings. Rosa and Maria's death had not been caused by a projectile weapon. However, it was easy to suspect that the servants had been killed in such a manner. Would they come flying out of the dark, or would they take careful aim and snipe from the shadows? Either way, they couldn't relax their attention, even for an instant. Even so, when they reached the overhang in front of the entrance to the mansion and escaped the reach of the raindrops, they felt themselves breathing a sigh of relief.
まずは問題なしやな。ローザさんの時とは違う。うかつに手は出せんやろ。
そう信じたいね。キリエ、俺たちが見張ってる間に鍵を開けてくれ。
ええ、SP が2人もついたお屋敷に帰宅だなんて実にエグゼクティブな気分よ。
赤絨毯で召使いのお出迎えがあれば完璧や。
お出迎えか。あるかもな。用心しようぜ。
As they cautiously surveyed their surroundings, Kyrie unlocked the entrance with the master key that she had been given.
開いたわ。
秀吉兄さん、戦闘を頼めるか。俺は背後を警戒するぜ。
了解や。キリエさん、わしの影から出ないようにな。ほな、突入するで。
後方了解。援護するぜ。
I'm using the
男の人ってやね。この状況をちょっぴり楽しんでるでしょう。
I'm using the enter key this time, so if it's too loud, I'm sorry.
諦めろよ。
My
それ
keyboard.
が男ってもんだぜ。しかし、相変わらずひでえ匂いだな。
Felt like the air in the mansion was stagnant with a gloomy silence, and on top of that was still thick with the stench from Kinzo's burned corpse in the boiler room. And they were struck with an uncontrollable sense to leave the mansion.
前方問題ないで。厨房まで一っ走りや。
とっとと済ませて引き上げよう。スーツが親父の匂いで燻蒸されちまうぜ。
Oh, no respect for father, huh? 3 of them dashed towards the kitchen. No wonder. Kinzo's a shitty parent. And here comes the witch, Beatrice, or Evatrice. The candles dance. Oh man, this music is so good. And after they disappeared from the entrance hall, the new witch appeared there.
まんまと誘い出されたわね。私の罠にまんまと引っかかってくれた。
Witch grinned. Thinking about it, no matter how unbearable their hunger had grown, it hadn't even been a few hours since Rosa and Maria had been attacked and lost their lives. In that case, why had they needed to recklessly leave the guest house? Until that question could be dealt with, the only answer was that they had been called out by the witch's magic. Man, her voice. The instant she proclaimed that, the mansion was sealed off in a separate world. Unless her barrier was undone, no longer would anyone be able to exit this mansion or enter it.
お見事です。無限の魔女を継承してからまだ半日も経たないのに、それほどまでに魔法を使いこなされるとは、その才能に驚きます。まるであなたは生まれながらにしての魔女のようだ。
Does Runaway realizes that she's very bad news?
だって私、生まれた時から魔女だもの。あなたは瞬きの仕方を誰かに習うの？私が魔法を使えるのはそういうことよ。
Oh no, she's a Dio-like character. Oh, you're so fucked.
恐ろしいお方だ。
The witch's face twisted with brutality. She couldn't just help looking forward to toying with someone's life again.
さてさて。
Her laugh.
まずはルドルフとキリエなわけだけど、どんな残酷な殺し方をしてやろうかしら。
失礼ながら先代様より不必要な残酷なる殺害は控えるようご指示を賜っております。そして第4の晩以降は生贄の捧げ方に作法がございます。それには煉獄の七姉妹の力を借りねばなりません。
あら、そうだったの？そういえばそうだったわね。好き勝手に遊べるのはさっきの第2の晩までなのね。つまんないわ。またローザの時みたいに思い切り遊べると思ったのに。でもそれは最後の殺し方という意味でしょ？
と申しますと、
私が何度どれほどの殺し方をしようとも生き返らせて、最後に非分の殺し方に沿えばいいわけでしょ。つまり私がどう遊ぼうと結局は問題ないってことになるわ。こんなに面白い力、誰がおとなしくなんかするもんか。
Her laugh. Her absurd argument was, for an endless witch, an extremely valid one. The etiquette that controlled the manner of killing the sacrifice of the fourth twilight and onward was represented by the lines of, like, gouged head. However, that referred to the way that those people died in the end. In other words, in the process leading up to that, she was free to tease and kill them however she wanted. She just had to keep on reviving them and follow the rules only when she killed them the final time. Though Runaway felt her innocent cruelty was part of her talent as a witch, he was beginning to notice an innately brutal side of her. Oh, is Runaway noticing how much of a problem she actually is?
魔女は見習いが最も残忍と申しますが、本当のようですね。ご随意にと申し上げたいところですが、ここはやはり自重なさった方が賢明でしょう。彼らは銃を持っています。
Oh, what about it?
銃のような反魔法力の高い武器は魔女や悪魔の天敵です。
What is this bullshit? The witch stared blankly at this demon butler, who was surprisingly afraid of guns. Is this like some kind of restriction so the human story still works out?
話が違うわ。魔女は弾丸なんかを追いかけられてもへっちゃらじゃないのかしら。
The witches so far have been shown to be very omnipotent, so it's kind of weird that guns are something to be afraid.
いいえ、普通の人間と全く同じように致命傷となります。
It's just a bunch of lies, I think.
多くの魔女は厳重に防御結界や家具の守備によって身辺を固めるのです。
私にその防御結界というのはあるの？
銃弾をも無効にする結界の構築には十分な準備と儀式が必要です。
I mean, just a few hours ago, weren't they just raining god spears from the heavens? And raising towers?
今のベアトリーチェ様にはございません。また、銃弾を防げるほどの家具の召喚も現在はその準備がありません。
That shot innumerable cannons as well. No, the witch's powers seem much more omnipotent than
これほどの魔力を持つ大魔女になりながら、それでもやはり鉛玉に怯えなければならないのね。
Or maybe the power of gun is too strong even for a witch.
不愉快だけど仕方がないわ。となれば家具を呼び出して私の手足とすればいいわけね。
はい。危険に身をさらさず家具に全てを任すのもまた魔女の優雅なるたしなみでございます。ここは家具に任せ、ベアトリーチェ様は安全なところへお隠れを。
分かったわ。煉獄の七姉妹誰でもいいわ。適当に二人。
Oh my god, her voice, her performance is so amazing. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped something. It's Belphegor and... Leviathan and Belphegor respond to the call. Belphegor is my favorite. Oh, it's Sloth. But her voice is so good.
あんたたちの力を見せてもらうわ。標的はルドルフとキリエ、秀吉はダメよ。さあ、あなたたちがどれだけ残酷な家具なのか、私に見せてみて。
Hideyoshi going to be the next suspect?
恐れながら先代様より不要なる残酷行為は控えるようご命令を賜っております。
Because he was the last one to see Rosa and Maria.
でも先代様のご命令の範囲内でいたぶることはできると思います。
So the others are going to suspect him.
それでもよろしいですか？わかった。それで妥協するわ。簡単に殺してはダメよ。徹底的に追い詰めて死の恐怖を味わわせてから殺すのよ。
Oh, she's not liking that.
それでいいのかしら？炉の上？
When she has that wide mouth smile sprite, I don't think she's very happy.
はい。程度をお考えいただければ問題ないかと思います。
The conflict starting to brew between her and Beatrice. It's gonna be hard to watch later on, I think. It's definitely going to happen.
あなたたちほどのものならばかわすことはたやすいでしょうが、もしも当たれば致命傷ですよ。くれぐれも用心を。
ご心配なく、そのような無様は晒しません。
Oh my gosh, her voice is so good. Belphegor's voice actress. Two sisters of purgatory vanished. Runaway bowed and vanished himself.
殺し方にまでルールがね。なんで私が先代様に気兼ねしなくちゃならないの？
Here it comes.
窮屈でつまらない。
Ooh. Yep. So much foreshadowing. As the witch looked up on the portrait of the predecessor Beatrice hung in the hall, she cursed. Yep. Conflict is brewing. 3 people had already arrived at the kitchen and were gathering food and supplies. Considering the possibility of poison, they gave up on the alluring fruits and vegetables, and gathered a whole cardboard box full of the only safe canned foods. It was very heavy, but by piling up on the cart they could carry it well enough. They should have been more than enough for 10 people to hold out until tomorrow's breakfast. I should carry them until the boat arrives. 2 men were supposed to be focused solely on guard duty, but the weight of the load was tough on the Kyrie, even with the cart. Hideyoshi, who wanted to show off his power, switched to be the cart pusher, and Rudolf and his wife took up the task of guard duty.
これだけあれば ジョージたちも満腹やろ。帰るまでが遠足や。行くで。
But Hideyoshi vigorously announced their departure. Kyrie frowned and seemed to be gazing off into the distance. There was a wall in that direction. You know, if her gaze could go through that, there was a main hall beyond it.
どうしたキリエ。
チリチリするの。
Scar in this score.
嫌な予感がするわ。
Kyrie stopped walking and narrowed her eyes even further. Man, Kyrie, what are you?
女の勘か。
At times like these, Kyrie's intuition often rang true, even when she didn't have a logical reason. Rudolf believes in that intuition.
ええ、多分私たちは待ち伏せされてる。さっきまではその気配はなかったの。でもたった今感じたわ。たった今、私たちは待ち伏せられた。
なら来た道を戻る義理はねえな。
Oh my god.
そこに勝手口があるじゃねえか。そっちから出よう。
Rudolf made to unlock the back door. When goods were carried into the kitchen, they never passed the part of the mansion that the family came and went from. Well, but Beatrice closed the back door. Or the whole mansion, I think. So outside the back door, there was probably a ramp used to carry things in. Beatrice, Evatrice, Eva Beatrice. Oh my god, I don't know what to say. Surely they would have been able to leave through there with the cart. It's hard to say Evatrice, seriously.
家庭クソどうなってんだ。
開かないの？
ああ、壊れてんのかな。びくともしねえぜ。
Yep. Oh man. So this is one of the mysteries, maybe. Rudolf tried various things, first using force, then coaxing it. The lock was hard as a stone and didn't even budge. Couldn't they just break the windows? Couldn't they just break the windows and escape? Still.
これが罠だってのか。
わからない。用心して。
With strained expressions, the three of them returned to the hall again and headed for the entrance.
誰だ?
The instant they exited the hall, Rudolf noticed a suspicious shadow right in front of them and yelled. In that instant, a storm of gold leaves started blowing, and gold butterflies covered the area with a gold color. Dance of the Moon Rabbits. This one, I think it's new to this chapter, to this episode. Oh my god, look at Leviathan's face. Two guns spotted fire. Lead bullets burst right through the magical defense of the pair as easily as though it was a wet paper wall. The two figures that should have been there had disappeared. Certainly, guns were frightening objects for them. There was no need to fear as long as they weren't hit. They had at least enough speed to dodge those. Leviathan was a full 10 meters away from where she had supposedly been, popping her head out from behind a pillar. The shadow was the staircase and protesting.
Beatrice 様のご命令により、貴様らを撃つ。時間をかけてホフレトのご命令だ。抵抗は自由。されど無駄と知れ。
That voice came from overhead. Belphegor could have been seen on top of the whole chandelier. Elegantly looking down upon them, she proclaimed their execution with a cruel smile.
なんなんやこの姉ちゃんたちは。
台車は忘れて。相手は2人よ。3回すれば全員を追うことはできないわ。
All three of them were well acquainted with the inside of the mansion. In case of crisis, they had planned to run off in separate directions, returning to the guest house by breaking windows or leaving through a back door. Fighting was forbidden, as long as they could totally escape.
36系逃げるが勝ちだぜ。
Three of them ran into the depths of the mansion at full tilt. That pair of furniture calmly watched them go.
私は女の方をやるわ。
World End Nominator.
あんたは男。
了解した。
So Belphegor and Rudolf and Leviathan and Kyrie. The furniture in the shadows of the pillar and on the chandelier made their figures explode, and leaving behind only the sound of hopping beetle knocking against the wall, he pursued their respective targets. Their speed was overwhelming, and they easily blocked the others' path of retreat.
家具のお手並み拝見させてもらうわ。楽しませてくれるといいのだけど。
Oh,
ベアトリーチェ様、緑に姿を現されない方がよろしい
I
か。
don't think she actually cares, my
キ
dude.
ングは緑に中央を動かないものよ。
Ooh,
それが王者の魔女の貫禄よ。
ooh. Belphegor was already blocking the way in front of Rudolf, who had boldly tried to escape to the second floor.
抵抗もそして闘争も無駄だ。お前は何も考えなくていい。ただ目を閉じているだけでいい。私が全て優しく終わらせてやる。
Oh my god, you can say that all night to my ears, please. Your voice is so good. Oh, that's so badass.
あんたいい嫁さんになれるな。
Oh.
疲れて帰ってくる旦那はそういうの喜ぶぜ。
この後に及んで不埒な話をする余裕があるとは。良き獲物、ベアトリーチェ様、感謝します。死ね！
Oh. Man, Rudolf looks so badass. Rudolf shot first. But even before that bullet could hit her, Belphegor had already moved behind Rudolf's back. Nothing personnel, kid. She then raised the purple curve, springing out from her arm. However, incredibly, before the arm could decapitate Rudolf, he had swung his gun behind him. The barrel remained pointed back behind his back from the same motion with which he had reloaded the sawed-off gun one-handedly. It was pointing right at Belphegor's chest. Nothing personal, kid. Click, cut, cluck, chuck, clunk was the sound of the ejected empty cartridge, finally hitting the wall after the reload. In other words, it meant that the next shot was already fully loaded. Oh man, he's so badass. After turning around, his gun pointing right at Belphegor's chest, Rudolf grinned.
やるな、中年男の分際で。
Oh man.
西部劇世代をなめるんじゃねえぜ。ガキどもに。エヴァアクションの渋みは語らせねえ。
Umineko is an action film. Rudolf and Kyrie would fit very well in a revenge gun movie. Just like Rudolf, Kyrie was also confronting a demon stake in the first floor corridor.
間抜けなやつね。夫と一緒に逃げればよかったのに。さっきのは根性の別れになったわよ。
Ooh.
大丈夫よ。うちの人、こういうのとても得意なの。すぐに白馬で迎えに来てくれるわ。私が困った時、彼が助けに来てくれなかったことはないんだから。アスムさんがいた頃であってもね。
Oh. Asumu is the wife. Is the first wife, right? Ooh. I wonder.
本当に仲のいい夫婦ね。
I theorized that Kyrie was having a relationship with Rudolf way before Asumu died, I think.
嫉妬するわ。私は嫉妬のレビアタン。嫉妬こそ我が力、我が怒り、我が源泉。
I mean, green hair, right?
同感ね。嫉妬は女の力の原点よ。それが力だと言うなら、あなたごときお嬢ちゃんになんか負けないんだから。
嫉妬を司る私によくも言えたわね。お前たち夫婦を再会などさせるものか。悲劇的な別れを与えてやるわ。
The arm Leviathan's song was threaded by a purple curve. It was a magic blade that cut with the power of malice. Oh my god. Oh man, these sprites are insane. Kyrie blocked it with her gun. Even though the magic blade should have cut through the metal like butter, the gun, with its extremely high magic resistance power, was able to block the blade as easily as if it were a rolled up newspaper. How did Rudolf and Kyrie die in the last 2 games? What is this? Rapidly 2 times, 3 times. It blocked all of them. How did they die? What is happening? And without missing the opening created when that purple curve took a swing upward, Kyrie kicked Leviathan in the stomach with her heel. Leviathan was knocked away like a lightly dancing feather, before the demon's stake feet touched the ground again. Kyrie was already pointing her gun directly at Leviathan in mid-air. From that position, the 2 women who had called envy a form of power met each other's gaze. How the hell did you die? Oh my god. Oh. Rudolf tumbled down the staircase. Then he'd been gradually cornered by Belphegor, having pushed back into the main hall they started from. Magic battles, yes. So much action in this episode, though. It's a lot. I want to see Rudolf's reaction. Oh. Ooh. You knew it was her? Ooh.
お前の地獄にお前の大嫌いな姉を送っちまうことをよ。ベアトリッチ様、危ない!
Rudolf mercilessly pointed the barrel of his gun, the witch who proclaimed to be once his sister. But Belphegor would not permit that and attacked savagely. She dashed, disappeared, and headed for Rudolf's back. She dodged that shot and then again headed for Rudolf's back. Ooh. And vanished over and over, instantly moving into Rudolf's blind spots. This is anime. This is an anime fight right here. Energy swords and all. It was almost like she was a fairy. As she blinked in and out of vision, Belphegor incessantly drove towards Rudolf. Oh man. Her faces. They don't lose to Beatrice's faces though. What the hell? What is that laugh? At that time, there was a dual tearing sound, along with Rudolf's cry of anguish. Rudolf's reaction to the dance of the purple curve that pressed upon him had finally been too slow, and he let it lightly cut his flank. A single wound slowed him down just once. That led to a new wound, which slowed his actions again. What's this? Is it? Oh, Rudolf. Belphegor's dance began to swallow Rudolf whole. Watching Rudolf's body gradually get carved up, his former sister let out a shrill laugh. What about Hideyoshi though? Leviathan could no longer hide her irritation that Kyrie hadn't suffered a single fatal wound.
いつも一番成長が遅かったわ。いつも私が遅くて弱くて間抜けだったわ。その劣等感が嫉妬となり、それを力として変換した時、私は姉妹の誰にも負けない力を得たのよ。
I'm just bopping to the music.
少女時代の程よい劣等感は大事よ。女に化粧と努力を教えてくれるわ。
I don't know about that.
人間ごときにその力の限りを尽くすのは気に入らないけれど、夫に全幅の信頼を寄せるあなたへの嫉妬を私は力に変える。気に入らないのよ。なんで命のやり取りをしてるのにあんたはそんなに余裕なの？
どうしてかしらね。
Man, Rudolf and Kyrie fit right into a drama revenge story with guns.
必ず夫が助けに来てくれて自分を助けてくれるって信じきってるのよ。すごいじゃない。その信頼、嫉妬に値するわ。
What kind of trust do we sisters have for each other? Sisters are always looking down on each other, trying to thoroughly lambast each other when things already look bad.
いつも姉妹たちにいじめられてきたわ。誰か一人だけでも味方になってほしいとずっと思ってたわ。だからその一人だけの味方がいて全幅の信頼を寄せることができるあなた、私は最上の嫉妬を感じるの。
Oh man, her
その夫を
face.
信じきった余裕ある表情、嫉妬が力を与えてくれるのを感じるわ。これは超えちゃうかもね。音速。
Oh man, when you're going that fast, it's not very great for the environment around you. Leviathan turned herself into a stake. The speed of her flight as she attacked was proportional to the strength of her envy.
姉妹たちに見下されたあの日、私は成長の早い他の6人を心の底から嫉妬した。7日7番をかけて嫉妬したわ。その末に得た私の力と速度を見るがいい。死ねー、後ろ見やキリエー。
The demon's stake exposed the true form, leaping about at a terrible speed. The noise from her bouncing off the walls sounded like a machine gun. By now, Kyrie probably couldn't tell if it was a single stake or a swarm of beetles flying and bouncing around. Leviathan was over 100% certain of her victory, believing it from the bottom of her heart. Then, Kyrie spoke with an unbelievably calm voice.
ルドルフさんと最初から付き合っていたのは私だったのよ。
Oh shit.
アスムさんが白々しく間に入り込んできてちゃっかりと解任したのよ。
Oh no. Ooh.
ルドルフさんは悪くないわ。あの女が体を武器にして立ち回ってルドルフさんに婚約せざるを得ないよう追い詰めたのよ。アスムさんはバトラ君を身ごもってたわ。そして同じ頃私もまた男の子を身ごもってた。運命的なことに私たちの出産日は共に同じ日だったわ。そしてアスムさんはバトラ君を出産したわ。だけれど私はダメだった。思ったことがあるわ。もしダメだったのがアスムさんで出産したのが私だったならルドルフさんは婚約を解消して私と結婚してくれたかしら。でも私は子供を産めなかった。だからアスムさんが死ぬまで、そしてエンジェを解任するまで私はアスムさんを呪ったわ。
Pregnant with Anje. So Rudolf was in love with two women at the same time. Oh, this is gonna be bad.
死んでしまい、そして私と再婚してほしいってずっと嫉妬して呪って、そしてやっとアスムさんが死んだ。私は確信したわ。
Kyrie, holy shit.
私には魔法の力があって それが呪いとなってアスムさんを殺したんだって確信したわ。でも私の嫉妬の炎は収まらない。内緒よ。バトラ君を見るたびにね、あの女を思い出しちゃうの。
What does she think of Battler though?
そしてバトラ君を見るたびにね、もし私の子が生まれていたら同じ年だっただろうなって思ってしまうの。
Oh, Battler is such a strong, charismatic character, so it's very hard to compete with Battler. And
私は今でも彼女を嫉妬し、苛まれてる。
Imagine if two brothers were in the same age. Whatever brother it had might been, it would be overshadowed by Battler completely. Oh, that's very bad.
今もこれからも
Battler is just too outgoing, too charismatic of a character.
7日7番姉妹を嫉妬したですって。
そうよ。
Imagine George is already you can already see that George is a little bit maybe jealous of Battler, but he's his cousin. Imagine a brother. That would be very hard for anyone.
Oh
my god. Oh, that face.
てめえに男を取られて18年間嫉妬し続ける女の狂気がわかるかよ。
Oh, Kyrie. Oh, she completely broke character this time. Wow. Leviathan had the power of 24 hours times 7 days, or 168 hours of speed. And the power that Kyrie had accumulated was 24 hours in 1 day, 360 days in 1 year, and 18 whole years. Without counting leap years, that would be 157,680 hours. Compared to Leviathan's power and speed, it was more than 938 times greater. So then, even if Leviathan could soar at the speed of sound, 1,225 kilometers per hour, to Kyrie's eyes, it would only look like one divided by 938 of that. I'm sorry. so then 1,225 divided by 938 is a speed of 1.3 kilometers per hour. They say a human's walking speed is 400 kilometers per hour. So it was even less than half of that. This is almost the same speed as a baby crawling on the floor. Which means... Oh man, I'm not good with maths. In the time it took Demon Stake to move at pace so slow that you could count all the bits of dust floating through the air. Kyrie looked at it with pity. She pitied the slowness at which it came towards her. Oh my god. Then she lazily raised the barrel of her gun, almost as though she was trying to swallow the Demon Stake up with the gun barrel.
恋も嫉妬もあなた全然足りないわ。出直してらっしゃい、お嬢ちゃん。
Oh my gosh, she's so badass. Oh man, this is great. And Rudolf. What about Rudolf?
先ほどまでの威勢はどこへ？池作りは魚が跳ねてるうちがいいわ。死んだら面白みも何もない。もう十分よ。殺しちゃえば。
Oh my. Oh man. Every time she appears, I smile.
そこまで刻まれて、よくぞここまで耐えた。もう十分だ。あとは何も考えなくてよい。痛みなく生を奪い去ってやる。
待ってくれ。頼みがある。最後にあれがやってみて。
あれとは何か。
西部劇名物のあれだよ。背中を向け合ってから3歩歩いてズドンってやつ。
決闘か。よかろう。 それにて根性の未練が尽きるならば受けてやる。
Rudolf moved his wound-covered body and turned his back to her. Belphegor responded and turned her back to his. Belphegor had an honest nature that was uncommon with a witch's furniture.
言っておく。たとえ私の眉間に銃口を突きつけたとしても、私はお前が引き金を引き、私の頭蓋骨に弾丸が至るよりも早く。
ああ、そいつはもう骨身に染みてるぜ。お前は銃弾より早い。
それを知りつつ決闘を挑むお前の度胸に敬意を表し、付き合うのだ。感謝せよ。
お前は律儀なやつだな。いい女だ。惚れそうだぜ。
始めるぞ。散歩で良いのだな。
Oh my god, Belphegor's voice.
まずは一歩。
Oh.
そして二歩。
散歩だ。これでいいのか。
そして3歩も歩いてまだ気づかねえな。俺の勝ちだな、お嬢ちゃん。
何？
Oh. Rudolf turned around and fired the bullet. However, Belphegor could easily see through the speed of and trajectory of a bullet like that. It should have been no problem at all to dodge it. But a spray of fresh blood flew about. Belphegor had set up an adequate magical defensive barrier. But for an incantation of anti-magic power such as that bullet, it was completely meaningless.
何やってんのよ。何当たっちゃってんの？
The bullet had hit Belphegor right in the chest. Pain from the lad caused her to grimace, as did the pain from the denial of magic.
許せ。俺は卑怯な男だ。
興ざめだわ。魔女の家具ともあろうものが人間に破れるなんて。恥を知りなさいよ。
Oh, she's gonna get mad.
情けない。みっともない。勝手に這いつくばって死んじゃ
やめな、兄貴。こいつはかわせたんだ。だがかわさなかった。車線上に姉貴がいることに気づいたのさ。
Oh.
だから律儀なこいつはかわさずに受けて姉貴をかばったんだ。大手飛車取りに最後に気づいたんだ。
見事。
悪く思うな。お前が3歩歩く間にそれに気づけたら、俺は観念するつもりだったんだ。
あの散歩は私への手心だったか。考えようともしなかった。
Oh no, Belphegor, you're crying, no.
私は大だった。
お前はいい女だったぜ。先に天国で化粧して待ってろ。きっと口説きに行くからね。
And Kyrie won her fight as well. As Belphegor slowly fell over, she lost even the power that kept her in human form. She grew small, like gold dust, melting into the thin air. At that point, Kyrie dashed in. It seemed that she somehow defeated her own pursuer by her own hands. As she pointed the barrel of her gun straight at the witch, she ran up to the wound-covered Rudolf.
大丈夫？今誰か口説いてなかった？
Oh.
いい女だったぜ。もちろん。お
Na, na,
前
na,
の次程度にさ。
na, na.
悪いな。
Oh. Oh no, this is so good. Look at that. The two of them pinned the witch down with the barrels of their guns.
情けない家具たちね。人間相手に遅れを取るなんて情けない。くだらない。つまらない。
Ooh.
ベアトリーチェ様、ここは引くべきです。銃弾を防ぐ結界も家具もここにはありませんよ。
Oh my god. Oh my god, that face. Oh man, and the Beatrice portrait behind her. Oh man, this is also symbolic. The witch began to let out a muffled laugh. Surprised not only Rudolf and Kyrie, but Renove as well. Come on, man, just realize already that she's a very big problem. A bigger problem than you realize. Because a situation like this, with 2 guns pointed at her, was not one that even a witch could just laugh off. The witch laughed with pleasure.
そりゃあ、先代様の使い古しの家具じゃ無理で当然ね。
Still, if you remember in episode 1, didn't Nazi just come, rushed to the hall and die, even though she had a gun?
私には私にふさわしい新しい家具じゃないとダメよ。私義理で使ったけど、もともとお風呂は嫌いなの。
Oh man, Eva, you're so good. She said that she looked down at Belphegor's remains, which had already finished turning into a pile of gold dust, with disgust.
何の話をしてるかわからねえぜ。
Ooh, just run away. You're so dead. Super dead.
おとなしく両手を上げやがれってんだ。
And the witch obediently raised her hands. But instead of raising her hands because a gun was pointed at her, it looked like Marcia was a conductor facing an orchestra, waving her conductor's baton.
さあさあおいでなさい。私にふさわしき家具たち。あんな安っぽい家具じゃなくて、もっともっと強力な残酷な。
Oh man, her laughs though.
妙な真似はやめて、引き金を引くわ。
You're so done. In response to the witch's call, the hall was once again buried with the color of gold. Ooh, who's going to appear? Maybe Archer will. As the brilliantly radiant gold butterfly danced, felt as though they were being sucked into an ocean of gold leaf. Renove was shocked at upsurge in magical power. After all, it far surpassed that of his former master. Please realize that she's a very big problem. Come on. As their eyes were dazzled amidst this golden flash, a gunshot could be heard. Either Rudolf or Kyrie had fired a round. Then, when the golden flash subsided, at the very least, the witch was standing there, looking cool and composed. The bullet, Kyrie must have fired it into her. The witch had not been hit anywhere on her body. There it is. The bullet had been fastened in midair, right in front of the witch's chest. In an instant, a barrier that would require a significant amount of preparation even for the predecessor had been. Renove's face was twisted in shock. And the surprises did not end there. The cloud of gold butterflies had created 2 humanoid forms. 2? It was a furniture summoning. Oh, more anime characters. Oh man. Bunny girls. Ryukishi. Ryukishi, you're a man of culture. Let me see them. Oh man. They have the armbands. Are they from England or something? The butterflies peeled off and flew away, and beneath them, furniture in the shape of girls showed themselves.
Chiester の姉妹兵、先代様でもおいそれと呼び出せなかったペンドラゴンの記念兵をいともたやすく。
Chiester Sisters Corps. Pendragon's Memorial Troops. Wait.
Chiester 410、ここに。
Oh my god, her voice.
Chiester 45、ここに。私にふさわしい家具なんでしょうね、あんたたちは。絵本の朗読から同伴デートに隕石撃墜まで幅広くお答えしますよ。にひひ。 お答えしないと竜王様に怒られます。何卒ご命令を、大ベアトリーチェ卿。
ルドルフさん、逃げましょう。こいつらはダメだわ。
Kyrie definitely heard warning sirens going off in her head, thanks to the same feeling that alerted her to the ambush by the Seven Sisters of Purgatory. Without hesitation, they escaped. As the witch elegantly watched them leave, she commanded her new furniture.
命令よ。逃げた二人を殺して、そして死体をここへ持ち帰りなさい。そしたら生き返らせて何度も遊ぶのよ。
Oh my god, her voice. The witch's expression twisted into an evil smile. Even though she feared that expression, Lucifer appeared and spoke.
恐れながら先代様よりそのような残酷行為は慎むようにと。
Oh. The witch stared at her with those terrifying eyes. Lucifer was struck dumb. She was frustrated. It was boring not being able to let her own power and cruelty run wild. This annoying furniture of the predecessor kept telling her to show restraint, bringing her in rotation to a peak.
傲慢のルシファーちゃんじゃない。
Oh my god, her voice.
お久しぶりに元気？
Oh man. Chiester 410.
また今度一緒に遊びましょうね。
Oh man, I'm gonna like her.
死後はダメです。怒られます。大ベアトリーチェ卿のご命令を迅速に遂行を。にひ、お仕事の時間だに。
Oh man.
410了解。
Oh man, this Chiester sisters are going to be great.
追撃狙撃戦準備。地形データ収集。射撃用データ収集。
Anime sequence right here.
410へデータリンク。410データ受領。標的を捕捉。地形誤差修正。射撃曲線形成。制御点補正完了。45へデータリンク。45データ受領。危険区域確認。はっ、そこはダメです。後ろ邪魔だよルシファーちゃん。バックファイアで焼けるよ。
Oh man. Blue hair. Blue green hair, I think. Oh man. Pendragon troops. Thanks to their apparent measurements, that's the Arthurian legend, huh? The Chiester sisters were able to instantly calculate the terrain throughout the mansion, and coordinates of their targets, as well as the firing curve to reach them. That's right, their shots could be guided to follow a curved line. None could escape. Precision guidance used by the Seven Sisters of Purgatory was nothing more than a cheap knockoff of the ability these two held. Oh.
射撃準備完了。弾手選定、装填。
As the two of them faced each other, it was as though they were both pulling a backup bowstring together. Oh no! Magical sniping, here it comes, huh? Oh man. A dazzling gold arrow was ready there.
410。
Oh man. When I said archer, I meant Shiro. So I meant Emiya.
射撃。
After giving that announcement, they released their single arrow together. As the path taken by the gold sparkling snake of light drew a curve, it followed the direction that Rudolf and Kyrie had escaped in a rapid pursuit. It turned through the corridors, crawled over the floors, chasing them as it drew a beautiful curve. No one could block the guided shots of the Chiester sisters. No one could escape from them, and their strength could pierce all physical and magical defenses. It was quite a mercilessly guided weapon of certain death. However, among the mythical class soldiers, it was a weapon used by pretty much everyone. It was very commonplace for them, and very extraordinary for those of the everyday world. But he noticed something rapidly chasing them and turned around. The exact position of Rudolf's heart was pierced by the gold snake. All happened in an instant, and guided sniper shot, huh? After the gold snake pierced Rudolf, it swooped down to the floor, drawing a beautiful spiral, coiled itself around Kyrie's legs, and crawled up to her chest. Goodbye. And just like Rudolf, it pierced the exact location of her heart. Oh man, I wanted more. I wanted more of Rudolf and Kyrie. Come on. They're just teasing us with the drama, with the family drama there. And all of that happened in an instant. Oh man, Kyrie versus Battler. Oh, when that happens. Pierced Rudolf and then Kyrie. So they died, dropped to their knees, and fell over at almost the exact same time. Oh. Oh man.
私ではこういう家具が向いてるわ。先代様の中古家具とは大違い。さあ、二人の死体をここへ。飽きるまで何度でも蘇らせて、思いつく限りの残虐な殺し方を試してやるの。はあ、魔女がこんなにも楽しいなんて、命を奪うことがこんなにも楽しいなんて。
Oh man. Oh man. The laugh. For the time humans are born, the most action they can take is the murder of another human. It's only natural that humans can understand how pleasurable can break this taboo. But she was no longer a human. She was a witch. There was some pleasures that only witches could understand. By now she had tasted those pleasures and was totally immersed in them. After learning that the contents of the forbidden pot were honey, she could no longer live without them. No, the contents were honey because they were forbidden. Anyway, by killing humans gruesomely, and doing so over and over, she could feel the drug-like pleasure even now. As the witch rolled over laughing, the gold snake had just been shot and returned as though being reeled in. At the tips, two people were pinned and dragged along. Ooh. What about Hideyoshi though? The witch's order has been fulfilled. Rudolf and Kyrie had been killed instantly, and their corpses had been carried back.
Chiester 45-410命令遂行を完了しました。大ベアトリーチェ卿の次の命令を待ちます。どうかご命令を。赤ん坊のおもりからネトゲのお相手。スペースシャトル撃墜まで何でもお答えしますよ。
Oh man. Oh man, I want one of them. I need someone to play with. TBC is right around the corner, isn't it?
こいつらは第4の番と第5の番の生贄らしいの。だから最後には役立たずの7姉妹。もう5姉妹か。
Oh, Belphegor, no.
こいつらを額と胸に刺してえぐらなくちゃならない。でもそれを最後にすればいいんであって、それまでを私がどう遊ぼうと勝手よね。
Oh man, her voice.
待て待て待て待て。
I turned on my air conditioner if it's too loud. I'm sorry, but it's really hot.
そなたはわらわの言っていたことをもう忘れたのか。
おや、これは先代様。何か文句でも終わりですか？
Eva is not going to like this. She's going to be very mad.
あるに決まっておろうが、そなたはやりたい放題ではないか。なぜにわらわの言いつけが聞けぬのか。
やりたい放題で何の問題があるのですか、先代様。それに私は儀式のルールを逸脱しようなんて気持ちはこれっぽっちもありません。ちゃんとこの2人の死体は後できれいにして額と胸に杭を打ち込んでおきますから。
そういう問題ではないというに、あまりに品がなかったり残酷だったりするとだな。気を悪くする者もおるかもしれぬし。
先代様がどこかで戦っているとかいうゲームの相手ですか？ どの目に聞きました？
おしゃべりめ。まあ正直に言うとそういうわけだ。ちょっと目に余ると講義を受けてな。
先代様にわざわざ伝言などさせず直接講義にいらっしゃればいいのに。臆病な方です。
こことは異なる世界の住人だからの。わらわを返さねばならぬのだ。まあとにかくだな。
Is it setting up the foreshadowing for her becoming the antagonist of episode 4, maybe? As well?
ということは、その方は私に何か干渉したくてもできない。そして私も干渉したくてもできない。
Maybe Eva for episode 4 and 5, and then maybe Rosa or Maria for episodes 7, 8, 7, 6, 8, and 6, 7, and 8, maybe.
それくらいに遠い世界の無縁な方との認識でよろしいですか？
例えるならとても近い2本の平行線の世界とでも言おうか。とても身近な世界なのだが、平行線ゆえに2本の線が交わることは決してない。そんな世界ととりあえずは認識してくれればよい。
交わらないということは私とは関係ない世界のことということです。もしその方の代弁で私に自重しろとおっしゃられてるのでしたら、その方に交互伝言をお願いします。
あやつにか？なんと伝える？
余計なお世話だよ、消えろよババア。へそでも噛んで死んじゃえば。
Oh man. Oh man. Oh.
失礼しました。先代のお友達でしょうから、多分女性だろうと想像しただけです。
Oh man.
ババアと言っても決して先代様のことではありませんから、どうかご容赦ください。
Man, she's amazing. She spoke, which was looking straight into Beato's eyes. Anyone present would be able to tell what she meant by it.
先代様、とても不思議に思うことがあります。どうして先代様はその別世界の方とゲームをして魔女だと認めてもらわなければならないのですか？
それはだな、全ての人間に魔女の存在を認めさせることが完全なる支配につながるからである。一人頑固者がおってな。
どうしてその人間の認可が必要なのですか？魔女が魔女であり魔法を振るうことにどうして人間に認められる必要があるのですか？
Yeah, that's a point where I don't get it. Why is she doing this game of battler actually?
だからな、前にも話した通り、魔法というのは。
私は魔女です。別に誰の認可がなくとも魔法が使えますが、何か？
この世界ではな。しかしだな、それをあやつが認めない以上はなんと説明すればよいのか。
Beatrice is digging an even deeper hole for herself here.
説明いりません。だって決して交わることのない別世界の話じゃありませんか。それはつまりない世界も同じということです。別世界でゲームで戦っていると先代様が妄想を語っていることと何にも変わりません。重ねて言います。私と関係ない話です。そして私はもう魔女です。先代様はどうやらその何者かに認めてもらえないと魔女になれないようですが、私は違います。誰に認められずとももう立派な魔女です。先代ということであなたに形式的な敬意は捧げますが、それは私の行為であって義務ではありません。もう私はあなたの助言など求めていないし、これからどうすればいいか、どう遊べばいいかはっきり分かってます。だから13人殺しの儀式まではあなたへの最後の敬意だと割り切って行います。
This is so bad for Beatrice.
しかしそのやり方や その後のことについてはあなたに口出しされる言われは全くありません。そういうことで一つよろしくお願いし
ます。At a glance, those words seemed obedience, but they contained within them a clear parting of ways. She was no longer under Beato's care in any way. That was why she was clearly saying nothing more than "Don't get in the way of my fun." Beato understood that and was dejected, realizing that no matter how she explained it, she would only be able to make the witch understand.
そうか。ならばわらわはもう知らぬぞ。
Oh man, so many death flags.
魔法は敬いの気持ちなくして存在できぬことを身をもって知るがいい。
あなたがこれまでに縦横無尽に暴れてきたそれがどう敬いがあったのか教えてほしいものです。
After hearing that, Beato could no longer hear a response, because she remembered hearing exactly the same thing from her teacher.
さあ、シエスタの姉妹、先代がお帰りよ。
Ooh.
おみ。
Oh
先代
man.
様、どうぞこの場はお引き取りを。でないと私たちが叱られます。
Throughout her body, Beato felt something unseeable from the Chiester sisters, which can only be described as an oppressive sensation. It was like they were initiating firing calculations. It was an action much like that taking out a gun and cocking it. Even Beato could not escape from the Chiester sisters' attacks without any preparation. In the past, she had placed her greatest trust in them, so she knew how terrifying they were down to their very soul. Oh man.
先代様、お引き取りを。これ以上ベアトリーチェ様のご機嫌を損ねられるのはお勧めできません。
先代様。
わかった。わらわはこれにて退場する。そなたがどのような顛末をたどるか、ゆっくり鑑賞させてもらおうぞ。
Oh, it was almost infinitely close to a parting shot. So after Beato vanished, the witch and her furniture doubled over laughing. Oh man.
まあわかる。無限の力は楽しい。有限の極みである命を自在にもてあそぶ快楽は味わったことのないものには説明できぬ。その快楽に取りつかれる気持ちわかろうというものよ。
さぞや楽しかった
Man,
でし
Beatrice
ょうね。
character development
かつてのあなたのはしゃぎぶりを見る
and a lot of
限り
death flags for it.
あれがかつて何度も諭そうとしたお師匠様とそれに耳を貸さぬわらわの姿だというのか。
なぜあの子の行為を咎める気になったのですか。
それは
あなたにはあの子と大きな違いが一つあります。あの子はすでに魔女かもしれない。もちろんあなたも魔女です。ゲーム版の上の世界では。しかしゲーム版の外の世界で魔女だと認められるにはゲームの対戦者であるバトラ君に認めてもらわなくてはならない。あなたはそれを理解してゲームを始めたはずです。
魔女である証拠を暴風のように見せつけわらわを拒否する気持ちを吹き飛ばし、屈服させればわらわを魔女と認めると思った。前回うまくいきかけたのでもう一息だと思ったのだ。
実際は逆です。バトラ君はあなたの残忍さに呆れ果てていました。そしてゲームの対戦者として登壇したのはあなたを対等な対戦相手だと認めたからではない。残忍な魔女の存在を一切認めないという強い敵意に基づいてです。愚かなあなたはバトラ君が対戦者の自覚を持ってくれたことを自分を魔女だと認めさせる第一歩のように感じていたのでしょう。でも実際は全くの逆。バトラ君はあなたを魔女だと絶対に認めないためにあなたのゲームに挑んだのです。浅はかな北風がいくら吹きつけようと旅人はマントをより深く着込むだけ。あなたは大きな間違いを最初から犯しているのです。
Beatrice is becoming too good of a Beatrice is becoming an ally, and that only increases her death flags.
このゲームは バトラ君を屈服させる拷問などではない。あなたがバトラ君に認めてもらうために努力する試練なのです。
うすうすはよ、気づいてたさ。
前回はバトラ君にとって辛いゲームでした。しかしもう気づいたようですね。今回はあなたにとって辛いゲームです。
わらわは
Oh man.
これからどうすればいいのだ。
She's crying.
あなたが自分で考えるのです。幸いにもあなたはもうゲーム版の駒を降りて新しき魔女に委ねました。じっくりと自らについて思案する時間があるでしょう。
バトラはもう
What?
塊じゃねえかよ。
Oh my god, her face. No. Why is she so cute like this?
魔女は認めない。そしてわらわも認めない。それでどうやってバトラに認めてもらうんだよ。北風でダメなら今からのこのこ太陽で照らせっていうのか、このわらわが。
今は10月、ハロウィンの季節ですね。太陽が死に再び蘇る再生の月です。蘇ったばかりの弱々しい太陽は冬の木枯らしに遠く及ばないでしょう。しかしじっくりと成長し、やがては春の訪れを告げることができる。その時旅人はマントを畳むこともあるかもしれない。
わらは間違ってると。
Man, this is only making things harder for later on. Hell's Halls. Beautiful hall of the Shermiev mansion was covered with a golden sparkle like gold leaf, and stained deep red with thick spurts of blood. The number of deaths given to Rudolf and Kyrie had long surpassed anything you could count on both your fingers and your toes. The witch was breathing so hard her shoulders shook, but it wasn't because she was tired. She just couldn't hide her ragged breaths caused by her still uncontainable excitement.
人の生き死にを自由にすることのなんと楽しいことか。無限の魔女の力の前には私が思い描く無限の全てが実現するわ。どんなにぐちゃぐちゃにすりつぶしてやったって、私は指を一つ鳴らすだけで元通りにして蘇らせることができる。そして最後に申し訳程度に碑文に沿った死体に戻せばいいんだからね。
My God.
ねえあんたたち、ぬいぐるみのお腹を裂いたことってある？ないです。にひ45は？いえ、やったことありません。申し訳ありません。
Oh man.
当然よ。
Their designs though.
普通ないわ。ましてやお気に入りのぬいぐるみだったらなおさらよね。でもずっと思ってた。こんなにも大好きでふかふかのぬいぐるみの中にはいつか覗いてみたいってずっと思ってたわ。
If you cut and looked at each side, your curiosity might be quelled, but the stuffed animal would be broken. So even though you want to see, you can't. You understand that feeling, right?
無限の魔女の力はまさにそれを叶えてくれる力なの。今の私は好きなだけぬいぐるみを裂くことができる。なのに魔法一つでそれを元通りに蘇らせることができるわ。それはつまりこの世のあらゆる制約を打ち破ったということ。今の私には躊躇することも思いとどまることも何もないの。その喜び、誰にもわからないでしょうね。無限の魔女の私以外。
As the witch let out a mad war cry, she revived Rudolf and Kyrie again. The faster they could realize it, she killed them right away. And she made it know that something other than cotton was stuffed inside those two. Man. Oh.
予算かエヴァ。
Hideyoshi. Oh.
あんたいたの？
In that gruesome hall, Hideyoshi appeared with his gun readied. The witch had sealed the mansion with a barrier, so Hideyoshi had nowhere to run. He probably picked up Rudolf, so Kyrie's gun and come back. The gun, which should have been something to be feared, was apparently no longer an object she took seriously now that she was overflowing with magical power. The bold expression didn't flinch in the slightest.
なんでローザさんやマリアちゃんやルドルフ君やキリエさんまで殺さにゃならんのや
Hideyoshi, man. Oh, this is bad.
はあ、私は後宮家の当主にして六軒島の魔女よ。
Oh, is her younger self's feelings for him of hatred, maybe? Because she didn't want to get married when she was young?
この島では何を起こそうと全ては自由自在。
What are her feelings towards George, though?
今だけの一瞬を切り取ってその生き死にをどうなど私には無意味なこと。
Hideyoshi was struck speechless by that all too careless response from the witch. He went mad at the fighting father's goat.
どんだけ高く積まれた黄金やったやろな。わしには想像もつかん。お前の正気を失わせるほどのものだったんやろ。
Oh, did Hideyoshi know about it?
だがな、そんなにもたくさんの黄金やったなら、なして気前よく分けっこしたろって思わんかったんや。
誤解してるわ。あれは全て黄金の魔女のものよ。私以外の誰にも触れる資格はない。
お前は何や、昔聞かせてくれた少女時代の魔女だったエヴァだとでも言うんか。
そうよ。あなたの妻の後宮エヴァの胸の中にずっと住んでいた。そして魔女なの。エヴァは私を忘れることによって大人になったわ。だから魔法が使えない。
誰だって子供の頃には無邪気だけれど残酷な妄想に頭を膨らませることはある。わしかて小さい頃はアリを踏んで回ったり、トンボの羽をむしったりして遊んだことがあるわ。しかし命の大切さを学んでそんな残酷な幼年時代から卒業するんや。今のお前はまさに幼年時代そのものやで。エヴァが卒業したはずの人格なんや。それはエヴァやない、別の人間や。
そうよ。私後宮エヴァじゃない。黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェだもの。楽しいわよ。何の制約もしがらみもなく生き死にを自由にできるこの閲楽は本当に素敵。割った金魚鉢を謝らなくていい。そして好きなだけぬいぐるみを裂いていい。私は。
There was a crisp sound. It was the sound of Hideyoshi slapping the witch's face. Ooh. She's not gonna like that. Looking at the hall stained deeply red with flesh blood, he should have been able to imagine how terrible the witch was. But without fear, without hesitating, Hideyoshi had walked determinedly up to her and hit her on the cheek.
アホ！三角ぶるなや。ほんまは臆病者の弱虫のくせに、わしがまた更生させたるわ。このアホ！アホ！
痛い、ちょっ
と！命の大切さとか、儚さとか、そういうのが分かる女やったのだ。わしが思い出させたる。何が魔女や。アホ抜かせ。お前はわしの女房の後宮エヴァや。冷蔵庫の残り物でちょいちょいと気の利いたつまみを作れる台所の魔女が先の山や。目を覚まさんかい、このアホんだらが。
Oh man.
だから後宮エヴァじゃないって言ってるでしょうか。
Oh man.
この
Oh, this is bad. As tears dripped down his face, Hideyoshi kept hitting the witch's head. He wasn't even pointing the gun at her anymore. Therefore, that sound of gunfire couldn't have come from the gun Hideyoshi was holding. Oh. Oh, did Eva shoot him? The gun, which had fallen in the corner near Rudolf's corpse, was floating in the air, and smoke lingered near the barrel. Oh man, she used the force and the bullet A red stain was slowly spreading across the chest section of Hideyoshi's vest. Even though his back was facing the barrel of the gun, the bullet had driven through Hideyoshi's chest.
だから私はエヴァじゃないと言ってるのにバカでうざい男ね。あんたしつこいから第6の番の生贄に変更してあげるわ。
She's not keeping her promises.
どこかのベッドの下に隠れて震えてでもいたなら見逃してやるつもりだったのに。
Oh, her tone of voice changed.
わざわざ戻ってきて本当にバカな男だわ。
Oh man. Oh, I see it. Thunk. It was a dull sound that Hideyoshi fell to the floor. Even though death would allow him to escape from the pain, he resisted until the last second. And staring straight into the witch's eyes, he passed away. Because he had died without closing his eyes, the witch didn't realize he was dead for a short while, and remained pinned by that gaze.
こいつも新しいおもちゃにして遊びますにひ。
At those words, the witch finally realized that Hideyoshi was dead.
あ、そうね。どうしようかしら。
The Chiester sisters waited for instructions. On the inside, they imagined the source of even more brutal orders the master might give. The expression that rose to the witch's face looked as though she'd gotten over her excitement. She looked down at Hideyoshi's face, which still had tears dripping down it.
この男のせいですっかり興ざめだわ。もうやめた。ロノウェイ、いる？
はい、ここに。
後片付けをお願い。先代様もうるさいしね。あのババアが納得する程度に綺麗にしておいてちょうだい。一応、先代様への義理で儀式のルールには従うわ。
Oh man.
この3人の死体を第4の番から第6の番ってことでお願いね。ルシファー、出番よ。
傲慢のルシファー、ここに。
その3人の死体、ほじくってえぐっといて。
死体をですか？
そうよ。何か不満？
いえ。
The seven sisters of Purgatory had their own sort of pride. It was the pride of the hunter, the pride of gouging prey that they had brought down themselves. However, being told to gouge a corpse that someone else brought down ran contrary to that sentiment. Of course, the witch didn't mean it that way, but for the seven sisters, it was horribly humiliating. However, they had already screwed this up, with two of the sisters defeated. So they had no right to question her. Only Ronove appreciated this, and he rested his hand on her shoulder in understanding.
ベアトリーチェ様のご命令ですよ。
ルシファーは3人を選び、儀式の作法に従い処理をするように。あと、できましたら私のお片付けにも手を貸してください。
かしこまりました。
Witch looked down upon Hideyoshi's corpse, as though implying that the now delicate atmosphere was all Hideyoshi's fault.
バカな男ね。死なずに済んだのに。
I'm...
あなた。
Oh.
どこ？いるわよね。返事をして。
Oh, this is gonna be bad. The crash of thunderbolt woke Eva from her nightmare. Hideyoshi had been gripping her hand at the time. Her fearful heart would probably have been instantly healed. However, Hideyoshi, who was supposedly sworn that he wouldn't leave even for a moment, was nowhere to be seen in the room. Oh man, I feel so bad for Eva. Still, it feels strange actually. I don't know who the culprit could be actually in the human side of things. I thought it could be Eva, but man, maybe someone else. 30 minutes had already passed since Rudolf's group left the guest house. I had imagined their return was too late. And Cross and Otzi, who waited by the entrance, were reaching their limits of their patience. It could be... I think I know who it could be actually, from the human side. The chain was set on the door. That was a precaution in the event that Rudolf's group was attacked and the master key was stolen from them. For that reason, they needed to wait by the entrance like this for the others to return.
さすがに遅すぎます。彼らの身に何かあったのでは。
Cross glanced between his watch and the door, struggling to keep his composure.
もし彼らが戻らないようなことがあるならば。
辛い想像だが、その覚悟を始めた方が良さそうだ。やはり不用心だったのだ。
私はそうだと申し上げました。なぜ彼らはこれほどの危険を承知で外に。愚かなことです。ローザさんが襲われたばかりだというのに、なぜに外へ。
それを言っても始まらん。とにかくこれでゲストハウスに大人は3人。私と夏希、そして高熱で寝込んでいるエヴァだけだ。
At the time, the forceful sound of the door being opened came from the hallway. They heard Eva's panicked voice. The voice kept calling out Hideyoshi's name. It seemed as though she had a bad dream or something due to her fever and was calling for her husband.
エヴァさん、どうしましたか？大丈夫ですか？
Ooh.
うちの人はどこ？うちの人がいないの。ずっと一緒にいるって約束してくれたのに、ずっと手を握ってくれてるって約束したのに。
Cross was struck down by this attitude of hers, which she had never shown in front of him before, but not he understood her feelings.
落ち着いて。秀吉さんはルドルフさんたちと一緒に今表へ出ています。表へ？どうしてよ。私とずっと一緒にいてくれるって約束したのに、どうして表になんか行ってるの？表へ出てはダメ。表には魔女がいるわ。行ってはダメ。殺されてしまう。
Oh man. She's breaking.
落ち着きなさい。
Her character is being broken over very much this episode, and it's very good.
秀吉さんはルドルフたちと一緒に屋敷へ戻っているのだ。
どうして屋敷に行かなくちゃいけないのよ。ここなら安全なのに、どうして表になんか出したのよ。どうして屋敷なんかに戻ったのよ。
I have a theory actually about why.
明日までの食料を取りに行くことになったのだ。
I
秀吉さん
think I know.
はお前の体調が悪いことを気にしてて、そのためにもと言って。
いつ戻ってくるの？いつ戻ってくるのよ。表はダメよ。バラ庭園はダメ。屋敷はダメ。魔女がいる。黄金の魔女が歩き回ってる。見つかったら殺されてしまう。絶対に殺されてしまう。
Oh man.
うちの人はいつ戻ってくるの。30分前にここを出ました。私たちは帰りを待っています。30分？そんなのおかしいじゃない。屋敷に行って食料を取って帰ってくるのに、どうしてそんなに時間がかかるのよ。それであんたたちはなんでここでぼんやりしてるのよ。迎えに行かなきゃ。早くあの人のところへ行かなきゃ。
Man. Eva probably had quite a nightmare, and because it had continued even after she woke up, she could no longer hide her panic. Nancy tried to calm her down, but all it did was make Eva's emotions explode even more. Maybe they heard the disturbance. Butler and the kids, who had supposedly been on the second floor, were peeking their faces through the crack of the lobby door. Cross, Nazi, and Eva, and Butler and George, not Jessica and Nanjo. Everyone in the guest house had gathered by the entrance and understood the current situation.
母さんの意見に同感だよ。父さんたちの様子を確かめに。まあ、そうだな。荷物が大きくなって手間取ってる可能性だってあるぜ。人手は歓迎のはずさ。
ローザさんが襲われてすぐですぞ。二次遭難の可能性もあります。ここは一つ慎重に。
バカを言わないで。慎重に何よ。助けを求めてるかもしれない主人を見殺しにしろというの。私が様子を見に行くわ。臆病者はここで待っていなさい。
Oh man. Looking agitated, Eva raised her gun. Judging by her face, it would be useless for anyone to try and stop her. George, who realized that first, raised his head.
僕も行こう。バトラ君も来るだろう。人数が多い方がいい。おう、エヴァおばさん。来るなって言ったってついてくぜ。
Oh man.
私も行くよ。私だけ安全なところに隠れてなんかいられないぜ。
ジェシカは出てはなりません。ここに私といるのです。良いですね。
It was like they were implying that those three had already been killed anyway, so going outside would be pointless. As he realized that Eva felt like her heart had been gouged out, she spoke out strongly as Jessica's mother.
そうね。
それがいいでしょうね。兄さんたち一家はゲストハウスで留守番してて、これはうちの家族とバトラ君の家族の問題よ。あと南條先生も来てもらえるかしら。万が一のこともあるかもしれないから。
Oh man. Ooh.
バトラ、エヴァ、ジョージ、南條の4人は
Voiceless
屋敷のホールにてルドルフ、キリエ、秀吉の3人の遺体を発見。
第4から第6の番ってことか。なら死体には額、胸、腹にそれぞれ例の悪魔の杭が。
はい。ルドルフの額に1本、秀吉の胸に1本、そしてキリエの腹部に1本。3人には争ったか、あるいは逃げ回るかしたと思われる着衣の乱れがあります。3人の遺体は寄り添ってはおらず、犯人と遭遇後、ある程度の抵抗を試みたと推定されます。
Man, Virgilia is so much better than Kumasawa.
杭で額と胸と腹をとか相変わらず無芸。
Even though Rudolf knew it, which their path was, he contemplated telling Battle the truth. Normally, the witch would have killed him in a much more horrible way. The corpses have been left in this manner only because Beato had suggested the witch that she shown restraint. The new witch, thinking it would fit well enough as long as she gouged them with stakes, probably had just stuck a stake in a lump of meat that wasn't even shaped like a human. Rosa's and Maria's corpses were a particularly striking example. They'd been killed as the Golden Witch had wished. Just how gruesome it would the corpses have been. Beato had changed that into the still better kind of killing that Battler had mentioned earlier. Wanted to have Beato's small bit of toughness appreciated. He thought of telling Battler about this, but judging by Battler's eyes, that might do more harm than good. To humans, the gap between being alive and being dead is very large. Saying that she'd given a better death might have made it possible for a demon to understand her feelings and pardon her. There was no way a human would also be so accepting. Understanding this, Renovate remained silent, despite knowing of Beato's modest efforts.
いつも通り死体の死亡確認からさせてもらうぜ。ロノウェ、赤で宣言を頼む。おい、聞こえないのか？赤で宣言を頼む。副将要求だ。
Oh, he's not repeating it.
ルドルフ、キリエ、秀吉の3名は死亡している。
申し訳ございません。副将を拒否させていただきます。
This is in line with my theory, huh?
なんだと？いきなりどういうつもりだ？
I see. Passing out the torch to another culprit or culprits. By now, proclaiming that the victims were dead in red was almost a given in this battle. Refusing to do that was almost like losing by default. So when Ronove refused as part of his first move, Battler was dumbfounded.
申し訳ございません。私めのお嬢様の代行者である資格をこれをもって返上させていただき
So
ます。
that's the plan, huh?
よって
I see.
私にはそれを赤で復唱することができません。それを復唱する資格があるのはお嬢様ただ一人だけでございます。
正しい言い分です。ロノウェはベアト側の代行者でしかありません。ロノウェが代行の役を負り、かつバトラ君がベアトを相手として認めないならば、新しい代行者を立てる必要があります。
新しき代行者はおりません。
Oh, there's the new Evatrice. There's the new witch.
どうかバトラ様、お嬢様を再び対局の相手とお認めください。
悪いが、そいつは聞けねえ相談だぜ。あの不愉快な残酷野郎。俺は絶対に対局者だなどと認めない。それを認めないために、俺はこのゲームを降りないんだ。
不愉快な点につきましては、お嬢様に代わりまして謝罪します。また、お嬢様には二度と不愉快な言動を取らぬよう制約させます。
どうだかな。
バトラ君、あの子の師匠として私も謝罪します。よく言って聞かせますので、どうか一度だけ許してやってはくれませんか。
おいおい、よしてくれよ。まるで俺が悪者みてえだぜ。それに、あんたらにいくら謝罪の言葉を聞かされても、俺の耳には届かない。そいつを、ベアトが自分の口で言えるってんなら、まあ、
Oh man.
耳を貸さねえこともないぜ。
わかりました。
Oh, is she going to apologize? Oh, and that's gonna be more death flags.
それがあの子を再び認めてもらう唯一の条件ならば、あの子に謝罪をさせま
Oh
しょう。
no, it's too early for Beato to leave the game. Come on.
ロノウへ、あの子を呼びなさい。よろしいですね、バトラ君。
Oh man. Am I going to cry when Beatrice dies? Oh man.
好きにしろよ。だが、俺が許すと期待するな。呼べよ。あのムカつく魔女。
ありがとうございます、バトラ様。ただいま、お呼びいたします。お嬢様、バトラ様がお呼びでございます。
Sympathize with her as much as you wish, but don't forget, please. Oh man, I'm forgetting her crimes. After a few heartbeats, gold butterflies gathered together in midair and created Beato's form. It was much more docile appears than the one she's made before.
呼んだかロノウェ。
話は聞いていたはずですよ。あなたの口から何か言うことはありますか？
Oh man, it looked as though Beato shrunk slightly under Battler's cold gaze. Several times Beato made an effort to get the words out of her mouth, but that didn't work out so well. And she was just as awkward as someone trying to light a match during a freezing winter with icy hands. Even as she did that, the game board was advancing. In the hall, they had just found the corpses of the new victims and had broken down crying.
親父、キリエさん。
So if they're not proclaiming in red, that they're dead.
母さん、しっかりして。僕だって悔しい、悲しい。
So if they're not proclaiming in red, then I'm going to throw out my theory right now. For the human culprits. It's Rudolf and Kyrie. Kyrie took Rudolf out of the picture earlier on to speak about leaving. Maybe Kyrie solved the epitaph and both of them wanted to go out to verify it. They both went to the house with guns, killed Hideyoshi, and they are now on the secret passageway I think it's on the chapel actually. So I think they're down there looking at the golds they earned. Now they just have to kill the rest of the family. But still, it wasn't proclaimed in red, so I can make that theory.
おそらく
And Kyrie and Rudolf
たとえ彼らが倒れた直後に我々がここに訪れたとしてもきっと手遅れだったに違いありません。
I think Najo is on their side as well, maybe. And they just picked corpses and dressed them up. Maybe Shannon as Kyrie and Genji as Rudolf, or maybe Goda as Rudolf.
いいえ、違うわ。
A man.
きっと生きてたわよ。胸にこんなものを刺されて、うちの人は
もがき苦しみながら死んでいったに違いないのよ。もっと早く来ていればきっと助かった、きっと助かったのよ。
バトラ君も辛いだろうけど、しっかり大丈夫だよ。
Oh man, Battler.
大丈夫だぜ。
Third time his parents are killed. Oh.
もうちょっとだけ泣かせてくれ。俺が一番マシなんだ。俺が一番悲しくないはずなんだ。だからもうちょっとだけ泣いたら大丈夫だから。そんなことないよ。両親を失った心の痛みはよくわかる。僕には母さんがまだいる。バトラ君よりはるかにマシだ。いや違うぜ。ジョージの兄貴が一番辛いはずなんだ。分かってんだよ兄貴。
Oh, Shannon.
ジョージの兄貴が俺たちの中で一番悲しくて辛いんだ。俺はそれを分かってる。だからこれ以上メソメソなんて泣いちゃいけねえんだ。どうして僕の方が辛いなんて。俺にとっちゃ親父もキリエさんも成人して独り立ちしたらいつかは別れる人間さ。親である以上、子供より先に死ぬのは宿命だ。それが少し早くなっちまっただけの話だぜ。だが兄貴は違うぜ。いつか別れる親だけじゃない。
The lover.
これからの人生をずっと一緒に生きていくはずのシャノンちゃんまで失ったんじゃないかよ。
I think I discovered something about Battler actually. Oh man. I think
この命に重さなんかねえさ。赤ん坊の命だって年寄りの命だって同じくらいに尊いだろうよ。
Oh man, I found a character flaw in him.
それからの人生が長ければ長いほど
Oh, I want to see that explored actually.
一緒に築いていく未来が長ければ長いほど
Didn't
その知ってのは悲しいものなんじゃねえのかよ。
Didn't he do this in episode 1 when Cross and Jessica? Oh, I see.
兄貴は
Oh man.
シャノンちゃんと婚約したんだろ。これからの人生と家庭を一緒に築いていこうって約束したんだろ。
Oh, Battler is not a perfect person.
その未来のデカさが
Perfect paragon of good.
幸せのデカさがよ、俺の痛みなんかとは比べ物にならねえ。
Oh man.
だから兄貴はもっともっと泣いても許されるはずなんだ。なのに俺たちいとこの兄貴格だからって無理に冷静を装って。
Actually, he does this every time he finds a body actually. Oh man.
やめてよバトラ君。
George was starting to make a calm smile. Already he couldn't stop his single hot tear from leaving his streak down his face. A streak down his face.
悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。僕はシャノンと一緒にたくさんの未来を思い、きっと100年の人生では叶えきれないくらいの夢を語り合ったさ。その夢の一番最初の席を入れることさえ考
Oh
え
man,
られなくて
I'm feeling bad for George now.
悲しくないわけがないじゃないか。
Oh man.
それに比べたら俺なんかだから俺にはこれ以上泣く資格なんかねえんだ。兄貴だってこらえてるのに俺にこれ以上の涙を流す資格なんて。同じだよ。親しい人を失えば悲しいのは僕もバトラ君も同じだよ。だからバトラ君が僕より涙を流してはいけないなんてルールはない。そして僕だってもうこれ以上涙をこらえなければならないなんてルールもないんだもんね。
Okay, George's voice actor is great. Okay.
兄貴兄 兄貴。未来を語り合ったシャノンが死んだ。父さんも死んだ。悲しいな。悲しいな。
Oh man. Oh, I feel bad. As Battler and George hugged each other tightly, they cried a waterfall of tears over each other's shoulders, the people who have been precious to them. Oh man.
どうして俺がジョージの兄貴が一番辛いって言ったかわかるか？
聞いていたから。
What is this music?
その後の人生を共にする時間の長さに悲しみは比例するとな。
Oh
もちろ
man.
んそれだけじゃ測れねえけどな。俺たち人間はお前ら魔女とは違う生きてから死ぬまでという有限の時間を
Man, this music is
その
great.
力の限り生きている。それをないがしろにする奴は許せない。ましてや嘲笑いもてあそぶような奴は絶対に許せない。お前のような死の概念もめちゃくちゃな奴には理解もできねえだろうがよ。これから生きる時間の長さだけじゃない、一生懸命に生きている奴の人生を嘲笑うこと、これが一番。俺ジョージの兄貴はがむしゃらに頑張って人生を生きてた。シャノンちゃんと結婚するために悲壮な覚悟をしてこの日に臨んでいたはずなんだ。俺みたいに久しぶりにいとこと会えるなんて浮かれてたやつとはわけが違う。
しかしだな。
ベアト、
Oh man.
今は黙って聞きなさい。
Oh, character development, here it comes, huh? Oh, she's
お前の
crying.
言い分にも一定の理解はする。お前には自分の復活のためにおかしな碑文に沿った殺人を続ける必要があるってんだろ。だからその範囲内でのお前の殺人はお前の立場の事情を汲み取るか
Oh man.
それがお前にとっては必要な行為だ。
I don't. I actually don't.
ならそれ以上の不要な行為は全て
Doesn't matter. She's
お
killing
前
your
の無意味な
family,
残酷
man.
趣味ということになる。つまり第一の晩に6人を殺すことまでがお前にとっての必要な行為ならば、顔を砕くとか腹を裂いてお菓子を詰め込むなんて真似は全てお前の残酷趣味だってことになる。俺はお前のこの点について断じて許すことができないんだ。お前はローザおばさんがひどい殺され方を繰り返された時、結局は最後には生き返らせるのだからどうみたいなことを言ったそうだな。バルギリアに聞いてるぜ。
Oh
それ
man.
はまあ
最後には生き返るなら何度殺してもいいという考えは命をもてあそぶだけの全く不必要な行為ではないのか。殺すなら人思いに殺せ。もてあそぶな。殺さないなら痛むな。お前は人の命を自在に操れるのをいいことに命の尊厳を忘れてしまった。だから俺は認められないんだ。命の重みを、そして失った時の悲しみを知らない奴を俺は対戦相手だと断じて認められない。
無限の魔法が邪法と言われるゆえんです。無限の魔女に有限の概念はない。壊す、殺すという有限と終焉の概念がないのです。それゆえに無限の魔女は時に生と死の狭間をゴム跳びで遊ぶかのようにその行き来を遊び出すようになります。それはとてもとても恐ろしいことです。だから私は無限の魔女として自ら望みあなたの域まで達しなかったのです。
It was something Virgilia had been trying to tell Beato for a long time. I see. Beato had been too young to obediently listen to those words. She had been too wild. She had been possessed by that detestable pleasure.
壺を割ってはならぬと言われてきた。でも、だからこそいつか割ってみたいと思っていた。そして無限の魔法を得ていくら壊しても
好きなだけ元に直せると知った時、わらわは壺を壊すことがこれほどまでに楽しかったのかと驚いたものだ。
それを禁忌の蜜と呼びます。人はその中身に惹かれるのではない、それを封ずる錠前に惹かれるのです。実に嘆かわしいことです。
バルギリアに聞きたい。無限の魔法なんてものがどうしてあるんだ。それは何のためにこの世にあるんだ。
無限の魔法に限らず、魔法は全て人の世に幸福をもたらすために存在するのです。今さらバトラ君には信じがたいでしょうが、私たち魔女は人の世に恵みを与えるために人と人ならざる者たちとの架け橋になるべく修行を重ねているのです。
死者を繰り返し蘇らせ、何度もいじめ殺すことでどう人の世に役立つってんだ。
大切な形見の壺が割れてしまった時、それを直すことで誰もが笑顔を取り戻すならば、私は何度でも魔法にて直すでしょう。しかしそれは壊すために直すのではありません。人に幸福を与えるために蘇らせるのです。
だとしたらベアト、お前は無限の魔女、失格だな。今、俺は漠然と思ったことがある。どうして俺がお前とこんなおかしなゲームを延々と続けてるのかだ。これは俺を屈服させるためのゲームじゃない。お前が本当の意味で無限の魔女に認められるための試験ではないのかってな。
This is raising all sorts of
知らぬ
things.
わ。わらわがそなたにゲームを申し込んでいるのは、
And it's mostly death flags.
誰の思惑でもないわ。
Oh, Battler, you're
バ
going
ル
to
ギリアから
regret
の魔女の定義を
a
聞いた。
lot of things in this episode, huh?
それによるならばベアト、お前は魔女ですらない。その修行の途中で自らの力を誤解した見習いってことになる。これは魔女と人間の戦いのはず。ならば魔女でないお前に俺の相手としての資格はない。わかるな。
わらわがまだ見習い風情だと申すか。ならばわらわは
Oh
いつ
my god.
そなたの対戦相手だと再び認められるのか。
Her face.
いつこのゲームを再開できるというのか。
さあな。それは少なくとも今じゃない。お前が俺の言った話をちゃんと理解
Man,
できて
her character is developing so fast for it to be. I thought we will only get something like this in episode 6, 7, or 8. Oh man, so many death flags because of this.
俺はお前を再びゲームの対戦相手だと認めるだろうよ。
そのような抽象的な言い方ではわからぬ。どうすればお前の許しを超えるのか、はっきりと聞かせよ。
いいや、これで十分だ。あとはお前が考えろ。俺が言いたいのは以上だ。理解ができないならバルギリアやロノウェに相談してみろ。お前みたいなガキンチョはまず大人の言葉に耳を傾けるところから始めやがれ。バルギリア、ゲームは一度中断する。ロノウェが代行を降りた以上、あとはベアトが対局者としてふさわしい資格を持つのを待つしかない。
了解しました。ベアトがその資格を得たと認められるまでゲームを対局者不在のまま進行させます。ベアトもそれでよろしいですね。
異論はない。わらわは時間とゆっくり考えられる場所が欲しい。これにて席を外してもよいか。
ああ、いいぜ。
それではまたな。
待てよ。そうしょぼくれた顔する。
それはすまぬな。わらわは胸の内がすべて顔に出る性分。偽れぬ。
Oh man, no.
なら
I doubt it.
まだ公正の余地はあるってことだぜ。
I have doubts about that. I mean, keeping promises, never deceiving. I don't know.
一つだけ約束する。俺はお前とのゲームに勝つかもしれないし負けるかもしれない。お前が戻ってこなけりゃ不戦勝ってこともあるだろうよ。
At that point, Battler stopped talking for a second, and he spoke forcefully.
しかし絶対に俺からは降りない。お前を不戦勝にだけは絶対にしない。お前が再び俺の好敵手としてそこに座るのを俺はずっとここで待っているぞ。
バトラ様。
ありがとうなバトラー。わらわはきっとそなたに認められて戻ってくるぞ。
Oh man. After showing a hopeful smile for a very short while, Beato vanished. You already know, huh? After seeing her expression as she left, Battler was absolutely convinced that her face could tell no lies. Oh man, Battler is going to regret a lot of things. Ooh, this is not good. The 7 survivors held a death's door. 7 survivors will return to the guest house once again. And now it was clear that those who went outside would not return alive. Rudolf's group had gone out with 2 guns and a master key, but those had been lost. It was already clear that those had been stolen by the culprits. Because the shutters were closed on the windows, they couldn't be opened even if the culprit had a master key. The front and back doors that led to the outside were all sealed by chains, and they were further blocked with sofas and tables. Even if the culprit decided to break in through violent means, it wouldn't be easy for them.
台風が今となってはむしろ幸いかもしれんな。もしも晴れていたならゲストハウスに放火するという手もあり得たか
They
も
could
しれん。
poison the water,
そ
maybe
もそも
water
台風でな
supply.
かったなら午前中に船が来てたわ。
The human
それを
culprits
不
could
幸
do
中
that
の
to
幸
kill
いと
them
言え
all.
るかは微妙ね。エヴァさん、体の具合はいかがですか？
Maybe
無理
climb
をさ
up
れないようにしてください。
the water tank above, maybe? There is one.
ありがとう。熱はまだ感じるけど、そんなことを言ってる場合じゃないわ。
Oh, she's returning a little bit.
子供のためにも今は寝込んでる場合じゃない。
After crying so much in front of Hideyoshi's corpse, Eva had felt a strong self-awareness of her position as a mother, and her expression conveyed a strong will. In actual fact, her fever still hadn't gone down, and she was aware of that. If she didn't keep a strong hold on herself, she felt as though the fever would make her mind hazy again. By this point, the first floor formed the final line of defense set up by Cross, Nazi, and Eva. The children in the guest dojo had been strongly warned not to go downstairs without taking great care. If the culprit used a ladder or something, it probably wouldn't be impossible for them to attack them from the 2nd floor. But it wouldn't be easy for them to break the sturdy shutters from an insecure position. The 2nd floor was relatively safe compared to the 1st. Battler and George had also wanted to remain on the 1st floor so they could fight if the worst happened, but Eva had put a stop to that. In her mind, George was now the only member of her family. It seemed that she didn't even want to expose him to the danger of coming downstairs on the 1st floor. Cross and Nazi could understand that feeling. Oh man. Also, a great deal of time had passed since the siege began. The 2nd floor's cousin's room. Battler, George, and Jessica sat dazed, and didn't even listen to the TV that had been left on. For a while, Nanja had been with them and trying to lend them words of encouragement. But when he realized that he might actually be having an opposite effect, he hid himself in his own room, on the same 2nd floor. George kept looking dazedly at the photographs inserted in his notebook. It was from the time he'd taken a vacation to Okinawa with Shannon. Shannon's happy smile was contained in those photos. Oh. Flashback. George could remember the temperature and humidity, the warmth and strength of the wind. Even what he'd been talking about with her at the time those photos had been taken, as clear as though it happened yesterday. So to George, they weren't simply photos, but a door to bring back warm memories. In this room, even though the sound of the typhoon and the TV should have entered George's hearing, it was the senior of Okinawa. He'd seen with her and her laughing voice that reached his ears and his eyes and his ears. George had strived to be reborn after meeting Shannon. He had sworn to separate himself from the timid person he'd once been. Easily caught up in the atmosphere, unable to refuse a request, and easily used by those around him. He had resolved himself to become a strong man who made her life more joyous. Therefore, if you had met Shannon, a man called Ushurmia George would probably have lived a very different life. The George of that life would surely have been as an excellent man as he is now. The person I am now exists for Shannon's sake. Now that Shannon's gone, why do I exist? Oh no, is he contemplating suicide? It's completely meaningless, isn't it? He felt a deep, deep sadness, as though he himself became empty. The feeling must have been tormenting him this whole time. However, until Battle mentioned it, he hadn't been aware of that feeling himself. He finally managed to remember that it should have been alright for him to cry much, much more. So he cried. Just as Battle had, he cried himself dry. By now his eyes were bright red and swollen, and he couldn't cry anymore. So George did his best to change his way of thinking. It was not meaningless now, and he shouldn't be grateful to Shannon for giving him such a character. The dead don't come back to life. He would have to get over being separated from his most beloved person. If he were to chase after Shannon and kill himself, she would surely be deeply dejected. Work the other way around too. If he had died and Shannon had chased after him, throwing away her own life, he wouldn't have been able to forgive himself. Oh. So he chose to pass his sadness and anger, decided to thank her instead. Far. After meeting Shannon, she made his days rich and full, and taught him the meaning of working hard for other people's sakes. As a result, she had shaped him into the kind of person he had wanted it to be. He wanted to thank her for that. He tried to quell his sadness in this way. Each time he did, he remembered Shannon's smile. He understood it logically. He knew that grieving any more than this would only make her grieve in heaven. That didn't bring a stop to his sadness. I feel bad for George now, but still, you know. Man, Shannon. Man, this music is so good.
なんで人が死ぬってのはよ、こんなに悲しいんだろうな。
Battler muttered. It was as though he was speaking on behalf of all humans. His question probably hadn't been directed at anyone, but Jessica answered.
別れはどんな形でもいつも悲しいさ。でもそれが例えば老いであるとか何かの時間であるとかあらかじめ約束されていて、その悲しみを長い時間をかけてあらかじめ薄めておくことができる。それを許されないから、突然の不幸は悲しいんだろうよ。
なるほどな。そりゃ病気にでもかかって何年も昏睡状態になってるよ。少しずつ心の整理もついてくだろうけど、ある日突然じゃその暇もねえもんな。
本来なら数年をかけて薄めるべき悲しみが一度に押し寄せる。そりゃ辛いわけさ。時には人の生涯に傷を残すほど深い悲しみを与えることもあるかもしれない。
生涯に傷を残すほどか。
World ends.
じいさまのオカルト趣味もさ、そう囁かれてたんだよな。例のベアトリーチェって愛人を大昔に亡くして、それが悲しくて悲しくて立ち直れなくて、それで死者を蘇らせるためのオカルトの研究にそう囁かれてた。
だとしたらじいさまは最後の土壇場でその奇跡を成し遂げたな。犯人は蘇ったベアトリーチェでじいさまを殺される瞬間に再会できたってことになるぜ。自分で蘇らせてそれに殺されるとは皮肉な話さ。
それでもおじいさまは会えたんだろうね。人生の半分を落としてもう一度会いたいと願った女性にわずかなひとときとはいえ再会できたんだろうね。
丸焼きにされちまったけどな。人生の半分をかけた研究にしてはちょいと割の合わない成果だろうぜ。
そんなことはないよ。たとえほんのひとときであったとしても愛した女性に再会できたおじいさまは幸せだったはずさ。仮に生命の摂理に逆らった罪を神に咎められて
George is gonna become the new king, though.
その身を焼かれ地獄に落とされたとしてもその見返りの再会がほんのわずかな時間だったとしてもね。
ジョージ兄さん、
神の怒りに触れてこの身を焼かれようとも構わない。わずかな時間でもいいからシャノンを再び蘇らせてくれるなら僕は残りの人生すべてをおじいさまと同じ研究に捧げるよ。5分でいいからシャノンともう一度言葉を交わしたい。1分でもいいからそれと引き換えに全ての人生を捧げても僕は構わない。
兄貴。
When Battle and Jessica realized that their pointless discussion was causing George pain, they could nothing more than shut their mouths. George directed his thoughts to Kingslow's life. He sacrificed half his life to research that no one understood, and on the last day of his life he revived the person he loved most, and probably succeeded in his reunion in his final moments. George didn't know how much time they had together. He didn't know if they'd been given an hour or just 5 minutes. However, the moment must have been enough to reward him for all those months of research. Even though he spent dozens of years to achieve it, a small amount of time was probably more than worth it to him. Until today, I never believed in the occult or magic or anything. Somewhere in my heart, I even made fun of grandfather's research, thinking of it as nothing more than a pastime. However, I won't make fun of it anymore. No, to the contrary, I'll believe strongly that it's real. If the power of belief can create miracles, I'll probably throw away all my studies up until today, spending the rest of my time from today onwards studying magic. Give me the power of magic, and give me a miracle that'll let me see Shannon again. Oh man.
ごめんよみんな。僕もどうかしてる。魔法で死者が蘇るくらいだったら世界中の人々が魔法を学ぶだろうね。でも現実にはそんなことはない。誰も学ばない。死者が魔法では蘇らないって知っているから。ごめんよ、妙なことを言い出して。僕のせいでおかしな空気になっちゃったね。
There's some... I don't know.
みんなだって辛いだろうに。気を使わせてごめん。
Even if I did it to divert myself from my sadness, maybe I did say something strange. If I kept talking about stuff that's so weird, I'm sure it won't do anything great for that sadness. But that doesn't mean I can bear the silence. Maybe someday we'll get some regenerative...
もう一杯コーヒーをもらってくる。
Maybe someday we'll get some regenerative powers to clone DNA of people. Won't be the same as, I don't know, regenerative stuff. I don't know. Would it be the same person? I don't think so, but still.
うちの母さん、コーヒーの入れ方にはこだわりがあるんだよ。
Depends on the person, I guess.
みんなもおかわりはいるかい?
Batter-kun and Jessica-chan lightly shook their heads. Since I'm an atheist, I don't believe in soul or other things, so without pressing them any further, I took my mug and left the room. I believe more in... The shutters were all closed in the hallway, so the corridor was very dim. It's not like I'm atheist, I'm actually agnostic, I think. It's the term. I tried visiting Dr. Nanja's room. and asking if he wanted more coffee. But he said he didn't need any either. Seeing my mother's orthodox method of making coffee isn't universally appreciated. One time I made some for Shannon, but she told me that while it was delicious, it was a little too strong.
Shannon.
That's no good. Even though I left the room to change my mood, that image of Shannon's face filling my head hasn't faded in the slightest. I keep seeing those fun days with her more and more vividly, and it's saddening that I'll never get a chance to see her that face. Oh, no way. Oh, George, no. According to our parents, she was apparently killed with something like a gun or a spear. I'm sure they were just trying to console me, but they had said her death face had been very beautiful and peaceful. I wonder if she had the engagement ring I gave her last night on her finger. If she accepted my engagement, she would have had it on the ring finger of her left hand. Last night we were both on the edge of losing it, and not calm at all. Shannon accepted my engagement pretty courageously. She might have regretted that as a rash action once she had cooled her head. She might have taken the ring off. I wonder if she had the ring on now. I want to be sure of at least that much. Oh, I want to know how she felt at the very end. But even if I do confirm that, it doesn't mean she'll come back. I wonder what will happen to her body. After the autopsy, it'll probably be immediately cremated. Then I'll never be able to see her face, even her dead face, for all eternity.
僕はシャノンを失ったショックで少しおかしくなってるのかな。
I don't want her body to be burned. She's burned and turned to ash. Never again it will be possible for her to revive. True. They say cremation is frowned upon in Western tradition. Because on the day of resurrection, there will be no body to revive. I don't know about that. Because of that, it seemed that great criminals in Western history were often cremated after execution as a punishment. Their ashes were sometimes scattered in rivers and such. In other words, to Western people, death is nothing more than a sleep until the resurrection. It's essential that the corpse is left after death.
つまりそれは西洋人は死者が蘇る奇跡の存在を知っていたからなんだ。でも日本にはその奇跡がなかったから焼いてしまうんだ。
Now I understand. I understand why grandfather idolized the Western occult. That was his only reason from the very beginning. Just to revive the person dear to him, grandfather spent the rest of his remaining life researching the Western occult. The situation surrounding us now is abnormal. Grandfather did revive his beloved Beatrice. That Beatrice had carried out a terrible serial murder. With Link Crow's rooms that forced us to conclude that magic was used. The Golden Witch Beatrice, the incarnation of the miracle of the Western occult, and also the culprit who killed Shannon. She's an entity I should hate, and yet for some reason I want to cling to her. I wonder if Shannon could be revived with the magic of miracles, which grandfather bet his life on. According to the legend of the Urshirmiya family, grandfather met with her long ago and was given a vast quantity of gold. Then, if I also met with her, instead of gold, would she give me Shannon's life? As collateral, I don't care what sort of devil's contract she imposed. I wouldn't mind sacrificing all my remaining life. George probably couldn't believe or realize that his voiceless wish was heard by the witch herself, which stood right behind him. Oh man. Beatrice had been listening to the entire discussion between the children just now in the cousin's room. I thought I had told her she didn't know the value of human life, and wanting to understand that in her own way, she stealthily visited, listening on their discussion.
それが願いだというのか。それを叶えれば、わらわは魔女だと認められるのか。
Ooh. Eva is not going to like that. Evatrice. Beato looked at the palms of both of her hands. She had handed over most of her once surging magical power when the new witch succeeded in the name of the Endless Witch. Of course, her current power still made her worthy of being called a witch, but It could not begin to compare to her previous strength.
無限の魔法などなくとも、わらわは千年に名を轟かす大魔女であるぞ。死者を蘇らすなど、造作もないことよ。
Inside her head, she thought about several magical steps she could take to revive the dead. Even magic that should have been easy in the past would be difficult with her current power. She thought of something, then clicked her tongue, then did so again, over and over. In the end, she finally thought of a single spell. It was a spell she couldn't use by herself. It was a spell that witches with weak power used, one that relied on the aid of others. In the past, Beato had looked down upon that type of magic. Therefore, she frantically tried to search for any conceivable alternative. But in the end, she couldn't think of one and slumped over in self-derision. Then, careful not to surprise him, she softly called out, softly to George's heart.
後ろ宮ジョージ、わらわの声が聞こえるか？
聞こえるとも。あなたは誰だい？本当に魔女のベアトリーチェ、それとも僕の悲しみが生んだ幻想なのか？もしも前者だったなら僕の願いを聞いてほしい。そして後者なら僕をそっとしておいてほしい。
The conversation in the mental world was a lot like having one in a dream. When you dream, haven't you ever had the experience of casually accepting something that would have been absurd in the real world? The conversation in the world was like that. So even though a witch appeared and started talking to George, she was not surprised.
わらわが黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェである。本来わらわとそなたをこうして会話を交わすことなどできぬ。しかしそなたがわらわのことを強く意識し会話を望むからこうして互いのチャンネルを合わせることができる。
シャノンを殺したのがあなたなのか？あなたを名乗る何者かの仕業なのか？ただあなたが本当の魔女として存在しているならばどんな対価にも応じる。僕の命を望むなら今すぐに捧げてもいい。どうかシャノンを生き返らせてほしい。それが無理ならせめてわずかの間話をさせてくれるだけでもいい。お願いだ。
対価はいらぬ。その願い叶えて使わそう。
本当にシャノンを。
だが反言の魔法を扱うには今のわらわには魔力が足りぬ。だからそなたの手を借りねばならぬ。
僕にできることならどんなことでも。それが僕の心臓を今すぐこの場で取り出すことであったとしても僕は躊躇しない。
そんなものいらぬというの。わらわは魔法を唱えさすれば冥府の扉に隙間ができる。だが今のわらわにはその隙間よりシャノンの魂を連れ出せるほどの力はない。しかしシャノンのことを強く思うそなたならその思いを魔力に変えて彼女の魂を必ずや連れ戻せるだろう。どうだ、わらわを手伝うか？
Is Shannon going to kill George? Oh man.
手伝うとも。シャノンの命が蘇るなら僕は何を失うことも恐れない。
George's fist shook in silence. Oh, Evatrice is not going to like that one bit. Then he slowly came to his senses. He had been absent-mindedly standing near the window in the hall, the whole time, his mug still in his hand. And the witch from his dream was still there.
そんな夢じゃない。
静かにせよ。今のわらわはとても脆い。この上さらに他の人間まで現れたら、姿を保ちきれぬ。そなたの願いは叶えるから今は沈黙せよ。よいか？
George covered his mouth with both hands, nodding enthusiastically several times. That instant, he almost dropped the mug he was holding. George frantically juggled it around and caught it. He was afraid that if it fell on the floor and made a loud sound, the witch's form might disappear like a bubble popping. He softly set the mug on the floor and stared at the witch in front of him again. Her form didn't disappear. It was into a dream.
さあ、シャノンが眠る客室へ行くぞ。そなたの思いの力にて彼女の魂を連れ戻すんだ。
行くってどうやって？下には母さんたちがいる。表へ出るのを許してくれるわけがない。それにあなたはさっき他の人間が現れたら姿を保てないと言わなかったかい？
そういえばそうだったな。下にはクラウスたちがおったか。それでは確かに下へ降りられぬな。ならば1階へ降りずに屋敷へ行けばいいではないか。簡単な話よ。
Beato laughed as though she thought of a pleasant prank, and with her golden pipe, she lightly tapped the window with its shutter closed. As she did, 3 gold butterflies appeared from the pipe and opened the lock on the window as though melting it. Then the window opened without a sound. The shutter beyond it was exactly the same. The clasp unset itself, also without making a sound, and quietly opened. Oh, is this a new mystery? How did George leave? The window opened, exposing the wind and rain outside the mansion. Perhaps because of the wind, this direction, or something related to the construction of the building. The wind did not blow inside. Because of that, for a while, George felt as though the entrance that opened to the outside was a dream or an illusion, and he couldn't accept it as real.
さあ行くぞ。ついてまいる。
Beato gently floated upwards. It was a natural action, like that of a diver enjoying an underwater stroll. Made it easy to believe that if you acted like she did, you might too be able to float in the sky just as though you were swimming through the water. No, George did believe that. So without thinking, just as she done, she also gently, as though swimming in the water, lifted his feet.
やるではないか。わらわが説明するよりも早く空を舞うことを覚えたか。
George was shocked to find himself floating in midair like he was swimming. Of course, Beato was also shocked that George, who shouldn't be able to use magic, had figured out how to do that just by instinct.
空が飛べるなんて、泳げるなんて。
理屈を考えてはならぬ。それが自然なことであると受け入れよ。ニュートンとかアインシュタインとか人間たちの競技を思い出してはならぬぞ。特に高き空を飛んでいる時はな、墜落する未熟な魔女も時におる。
あるがままを受け入れる。あるがままを受け入れる。
George repeated those words over and over. He must not deny magic no matter what. Denying that would be like throwing away what might be his first and last chance to revive Shannon. However, compared to Beato, who was elegantly drifting like smoke, George's movements clearly resembled someone under the water. Therefore, if he didn't act like he was kicking his feet in water every once in a while, he'd be caught by the force of gravity bit by bit.
わらわが初めて空を舞った時よりは上出来であると褒めていくぞ。ついてまいる。
When Beato beckoned to George, she gently flew into the starry sky. It was just like a scene from a fairy tale. The scene unfolded before George's eyes. It felt entirely like the extension of his dream. Of a dream.
空を飛べるのはすごいけど、すごい風と雨だ。
なんだ。雨と風に苛まれるのか。それを防ぐ魔法を教えてもよいが、今のそなたには早いし、今はそれを習う時間を割くのも惜しかろう。
ええ、僕が必要としている魔法はそれじゃない。
George wore a strong-willed gaze, refusing to let the wind and rain get to him.
見えてきたぞ、屋敷だ。もう少し頑張れよ。今落ちればバラの茂みだぜ。
The undulating rose garden was spread beneath the witch and George's gazes. The illusion-like scene no longer surprised George. and the gradually approaching mansion was reflected in his eyes. So now only 3 people need to die? I think. George, Cross, and Nazi, maybe. Oh, George. Oh. Oh, man. Oh, no. I had that stupefaction at that time. Cruel new witch could be seen staring at the guest house on a different location.
あと残すは第7第8の番だけね。あと2人で先代のババアの義理はおしまいだわ。クラウスと夏日を殺す。夫婦仲良くね。
Oh man. 410. Man, I love you.
標的はどうかに？ゲストハウス1階ロビーにて標的2名と後ろ宮エヴァを捕捉。
Oh man, her smug face. Oh man, I like her more and more.
反魔法力測定。
Are you a waifu?
410へデータリンク。
Yes, you are.
データ受領。反魔法力は極めて小。エヴァさえ席を外せばまな板の上のマグロにアワビです。いかがしますか？大ベアトリーチェ卿、ご命令をいただければすぐにも狙撃いたします。どうかご命令を。ほんとにあんたたちは便利な家具ね。死体をほじるしか能がない。中古家具どもとは大違いだわ。
Oh man, every time Beatrice is on, Eva Beatrice is on screen, I'm fucking smiling so hard. She's S rank plus.
またあなたたちの手際を見せてちょうだい。攻撃準備よ。死体はまた運び出してね。たっぷり遊んであげるんだから。文句はなしよ、ロノウェイ。
Oh man, Ronove. I think he already knows how big of a problem she is already. At that moment, the witch noticed something. It was as though some presence had disappeared. Was it her imagination?
今、何か気配を感じなかった？誰か感じた人いる？申し訳ありません。私は何も気づきませんでした。お許しを。私たちゲストハウスを観測中でしたから周辺監視はオフにしてます。にひ。ルシファーちゃんは何か気配感じた
？For just an instant, Lucifer glanced at Ronove, asking whether she should answer honestly or not. Ronove gave a small nod in response.
いいえ、申し訳ございません。ベアトリーチェ様、私たちは何も。中古家具ゆえ、愚鈍なことをお許しください。
Oh, when she smiles like that, she doesn't like it. She knows people are lying to her. Oh man. Oh, Ronove. Is Ronove going to die as well? Maybe later on. Oh.
そう。大悪魔のあなたがそう言うなら、きっと私の気のせいなんでしょうね。
Oh, she doesn't forget. Come on, Ronove. Oh, you're so bad. You're so fucked. The witch persistently stared in the direction of the present has disappeared to. That was where the Rose Garden lay, and beyond that she could see the mansion's dark silhouette created by lightning. It took quite some time before she pushed her unsatisfied feelings aside, and once again faced the guest house. Ooh. The confrontation growing ever closer, huh? So many death flags. Oh, this is gonna be bad. Oh man. So the characters. 2 new characters were added. Chiester 45. A weapon in contract with Beatrice. 45 has an extremely meticulous and timid personality. Is fairly paranoid. For that reason, she compensates well for the weakness of 410's slapdash personality, and they work as a pair. Cannot bear silence, and even becomes emotionally unstable unless she is constantly being given orders. 45 excels in enemy search and being decisive. The sister's battle powers is doubled by her support. She has the symbol on her legs, and she's wearing a leotard with the half skirt kind of deal. Oh man, just like the sisters. Chiester, a 410, a weapon in contract with Beatrice. 410 is a kid with character who has a unique and brazen way of speaking. Her hobby is teasing serious and uptight people, which is why she likes 45 and Lucifer. Rough-spoken but loves company and easily succumbs to loneliness. Gets suppressed unless there's something constantly giving her attention. 410 excels in fire control and even in close-range combat. Exhibits battle power that is second to none. They're already A-rank characters, with Chiester 410 being the superior choice here. Oh man, she's so good. Her way of speaking and her voice. And Beatrice. Beatrice is now tied with Battler for best care. She will maybe even surpass Beatrice as well. Eva Beatrice is very good. And then there's Virgilia, A rank for her. Renové's S rank. Belphegor died. No. And I think I can put George in B rank. Eva in S rank as well. I think I'll separate the Evatrice with Beatrice. Evatrice with Eva as two different characters from now on. So now let's see. Died in the Mansion's Hall with his chest having been pierced by weapons shaped like a stake. Careless. Who knew she was still alive? She was still alive. Died in the Mansion's Hall with his forehead having been pierced by a weapon shaped like a stake. From now on, they have to be finished with the stakes, apparently. Vulgar. Died in the Mansion Hall with her stomach having been pierced by a weapon shaped like a stake. The stomach is in a very lethal spot. It would have been okay to kill her by a safer method and just stick a stake into the corpse. Yoshirome Kyrie for S rank. She's on the bottom, behind Rosa. But still, she broke character today, and that was very good. Ooh. Oh man. Ooh, so many good characters this episode. And Beatrice is inching closer to death. Oh, it's not good. Thanks for watching.